We could be joyful and happy right now. Whatever, listen, this is the deal. Whatever you're thinking about right now, I know some people are sitting there, they're upset about, well, you got to do your taxes. It's all nonsense. It's what society told us was important. What do you think it is what the food's all about? What is that all about? The food is all about what the big corporations told us was important. They told us all of these goopy foods, all of this sugar, synthetic stuff, which is 3 times or 4 times the calories of regular, healthy, normal food. 95% of the stuff in the supermarkets is poison. 95% of the stuff you're thinking today is poison. Do you get that? Your thoughts, your thinking. We have this grace, this grace, amazing grace, right? Somebody talked before about believing in a higher power. Let me tell the story and then we'll go on to some more shares. It was a conference, right? It was a discussion between an atheist and a guy who believed in God. So anyway, they had this whole debate. It was a debate and discussion about it, going back and forth. Finally, at the end, they could come up and ask questions and make comments. So this guy comes up to the podium. He says, look, he goes, since I took this higher power, and it reminds me of the person sharing that, about their belief in a deity. So they said, my life has turned around. It's so amazing. I feel like reborn. My whole life is good since I went to this meeting and I took this higher power in, what we talk about here in the steps. This is all religion. Hey, the steps are all religions and philosophies. I dare you read any religion or philosophy, Eastern, Western, any of the ancient Greek philosophies, all in this first 164 pages of the big book. How happy should we be? Most people say, oh, I have to come to these meetings and pour me another drink. All the wisdom and philosophy of life are in these steps. Read it. I have hundreds of religious books, self-help books, and they all say I could just read the first 164 pages all in here. My addiction to food, the answer is here. Not in a diet program. The diet program is taking your self-will back. If anybody here, and a lot of people are here for the diet, because I always emphasize that, you're taking your self-will back. I know it's going to fix me, this plate of food, right? But anyway, we were brainwashed. And so, I forgot to tell you the end of the story. So anyway, the guy says, after the guy shares how great his life is, he took some higher consciousness, a deity into his life. So the guy debating the atheist says, what more proof do you need? He said, the debate is over. He said, look, this guy took a higher power in his life and he's just amazing and wonderful. The food is about everything else in our life, and everything else in our life is about the food and our addictions. People just don't understand when I say, what's the relationship to these steps to my addiction to food? It took me a while to figure it out, but food is like wanting more money, more success. If I have this big plate of food, life is going to be great, right? But it's momentary pleasure, just like we always talk about the man who climbs Mount Everest or any of these things in life. So all the things in life, it's all about the same thing. It's about the self, the ego, wanting more food. We just can't get beyond that. The ego, it doesn't want to die. So it's going to say, wow, I got it. You eat more food, more dopamine rushes to my brain, more drugs, more alcohol, more people liking me. But we have found, I think what you're talking about is the real source of happiness is joy is in here. We're looking at everything on the outside, the food, the people, the success. It only is momentary pleasure. We want real joy and happiness and bliss. It's in here. It's not in the food, it's not in the drugs, and it's not in people. People fail us every time. That was great. You reminded me of the topic, is this a diet plan or a program of recovery? When I first came in, I just wanted my plan and I was ready to go, There's a whole different story since I've been in the steps. Do we get it? This whole program is about letting go. Addiction to food, all has to do with the self and the ego wanting more. Our addiction to people, all the misery and depression. Whenever you're upset today, what are you thinking about? You're taking your self-will back. You're thinking of the past, planning the past, or regretting the future. Okay, you're planning the past. That's what we do all day long. The same with the food. The same with our addiction to people. This amazing grace, I heard every share talk about it, but it was like I hear it during the meeting, I feel great, but then the meeting's over, I walk out of the house and I take my self-will back and I wonder why I'm depressed and miserable. We have this ability with this, we're spiritual humans. We're spiritual in the human experience. If we just let go and read, like step 1 says, just powerless, right? My selfishness, self-centeredness. So anyway, and it has to do with my trying to figure it out. The self, the ego. Trying to figure it out. I tried for years and years to figure all these situations out with the food, my addiction to food, my addiction to alcohol, my addiction to people, all of this, and it only led me to be more depressed, more anxious, and more upset. So we have a better way out. It's called the steps. Step 1 alone said we're powerless. So we come to the conclusion we're powerless. So we had the song last week about amazing grace, right? This whole program is that transformation, that whole thinking change. You know, and I was going to go here and talk a little bit about resentments and resentments. Resentment is the number one offender. If we go to page, well, we could start right on page 66 in the big book if you go there. And it says, the first sentence says, it is plain to see that a life which includes deep resentments leads to futility, unhappiness. Again, a life that has deep resentments leads to futility, unhappiness. To understand and comprehension that whatever we did, it had to relate to 95%. If you're thinking about things right now that are bothering you, it has to do with people and situations.